Hey guys, Xaryu here, and today I am bringing you a very special video. I'm going to make a full-length Mage guide like I did in last expansion and the expansion before that. So before I get started, I just want to say thank you to everybody who subbed to me on Twitch. We got 200 subs, and for the 200 sub goal, this is what you guys wanted, so here we go. I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to talk about talents, honor talents, macros, add-ons, my rotations, mindset, and positioning. I'm going to try to talk really fast and try to get all into one video. With a lot of the things that I have already made other videos about, I'm going to go through it fairly quickly, but I do want this video to contain everything that you would need to know if you're going to start playing Mage. And I also do want to go over talents and honor talents again because some things have changed since I've made those last videos. So here we go. Talents. Bone Chilling is the best here in this 15 talent row. The main reason is because you want to keep your pet. Lonely Winter gets rid of your pet. You don't have that pet Nova anymore, so you can't get those huge shatter combos off. So you really need this Bone Chilling talent, not even because it's that good, just because you want to keep your pet. So if you just want to keep your pet, Ray of Frost is an option as well. If you're doing 2v2 and the guy's just running around the pillar all day, if you're doing 3s and you really just can't seem to connect, you can just Ray of Frost, because if you start channeling Ray of Frost and the guy moves around a pillar, the Ray of Frost will continue to channel through a pillar, just like the old Arcane Missiles and talents like that, because it is a channeled spell. But almost every game, 99.9% of games, I take Bone Chilling. Here in this second row, we have Shimmer, Cauterize, and Cold Snap. Shimmer is still the best option here. It allows you to cast and blink while casting off the GCD, and basically this is so good because you can do cool things like say this prairie dog here, use your imaginations and pretend it's a healer. You can go ahead and cast a sheep on it, blink mid-cast, and sheep the prairie dog, aka the healer on the other team. And why that's so good is because if the healer is trying to line of sight you, all you have to do is blink back, chase them, and land your full sheep. It's also really good if you're casting anything really, a Frostbolt for a shatter combo, boom. There, all of a sudden, the guy can't line of sight you anymore. So this Shimmer allows you to get your burst off and allows you to get your CC off. So strong. It's literally the single-handed thing that makes Mages good this expansion is Shimmer. Without Shimmer, you wouldn't be able to get CC, you wouldn't be able to get burst, you wouldn't be able to get anything. So Shimmer is kind of like the new Deep Sheep. We have Shimmer Sheep now. Here in this third row, we have Incanter's Flow, Rune of Power, and Mirror Image. Incanter's Flow gives you extra damage. Rune of Power, you can't really stand still, and Mirror Image doesn't really break CC anymore, but with 2-minute cooldown and people just line of sight them, they don't really do the burst you need to actually land a kill, and Canter's is going to give you the most bang for your buck here. You have Ice Nova, Frozen Touch, and Splitting Ice. Ice Nova is going to allow you to, one, it deals a lot of damage, but mainly it freezes the enemy in place, allowing you to take advantage of this Deep Shatter talent. So Ice Nova, you can do cool combos like Glacial Spike into Ice Nova, which I'll talk about in a little bit, or Frostbolt into Ice Nova, and to get huge Shatter combos with your Ice Nova. So always 100% of the time I'm going Ice Nova. So the 75 row actually is what has changed, and from here on out. So let me first talk about Glacial Spike, because Glacial Spike kind of was the catalyst for changing the 75 and 90 rows for me. So Glacial Spike, maybe like almost a week ago now, got a 15% buff. And with that buff, Glacial Spike is hitting oftentimes over 1 million. It might get re-nerfed, but right now Glacial Spike is literally doing like 1 million damage if you set it up correctly. Sometimes up to, with the right modifiers, 1.3 million plus. So it's pretty insane. So since Glacial Spike hits so hard, it kind of shifts the meta a little bit into CCing, what it kind of used to be is CCing the healer with a sheep and bursting into the target. But now it can literally either be two things: training the healer and just killing him, and more damage is more better, like I like to say, or just counterspelling the healer with counterspell and then getting a lot of damage and just killing your opponent with just a counterspell on the healer. So sheeps, you rely a lot less on sheeps on the healer to actually land your kills. And because of that, now I'm taking Unstable Magic. Unstable Magic, I play almost all the time now, whereas I used to say, oh, well, it breaks sheeps. Well, this expansion relies a lot less on sheeps. I also say, well, it used to break blinds. Well, Assassination Rogues are the best spec of rogues right now, and they don't even have blind. Well, it breaks fears. Well, I've been playing with the Holy Pally, where they don't have fear, they have Hajj. So with this Holy Pally Assassination Rogue Frost Mage meta, the only thing that it breaks is sheep if they're stacked, and I don't even go for that many sheeps on healers, and when I do, it's only a 20% chance to break it if they're stacked, and a lot of times they're not even stacked. So rarely does it break a sheep. It never breaks anything else because it can't break anything else due to the compositions that are actually powerful right now. So I'm actually running Unstable Magic most of my games now. And same thing with the 75 row. I thought I would never not play Ring of Frost, but I actually have, for the past day or two, been trying out Ice Flows, and I've been loving it. It's very difficult to get used to, but as I've been playing it more and more, it not only helps me combo Shimmer better, kind of like this. So say I'm trying to sheep this Prairie Dog, what I can do is, pop Ice Flows and be sheeping it and blink. So if you can imagine just in a game where I'm trying to sheep a healer, I'm not only casting while moving, but I can also blink. So it is very difficult to avoid mage casts now. On top of that, you can charge up a big glacial and kind of line of sight and then come back in line of sight at the last second and kind of use line of sight like this to your advantage as well. So the Ice Flows just opens up a whole other realm of possibilities for CC, for burst, for chasing people down while casting a glacial spike so they can't line of sight you, things like that. And honestly, I didn't think it was very good until I tried it. And I tried it and I was like, wow. Another cool thing about it is 3 charges. So if you do pop your Ice Form and then you Ice Flows, boom, 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 3 stacks, it's going to have 3 purgeable buffs. So if someone's trying to spell steal your Ice Form or purge your Ice Form, they have a chance to get this Ice Flows instead. So overall, just a very good talent, increases your mobility, increases your chance to get your burst off, increases your chance to get CC off. It's just insane. And yeah, so that's the biggest thing that's changed, the 75, 90, and 100 talent row. So let's go into honor talents real quick. So this first row, I either go Relentless if I'm being targeted. If I'm the target, I like to go Relentless. If they're training me as a rogue, a warrior, whatever like that, Relentless is good because all the stuns are shorter and you can just avoid CC a little bit. But if they're training my healer, I'd rather have Adaptation in a lot of cases. Say I'm fighting a rogue mage and they're training my healer and they're putting me into full sheeps. Well, I'd rather get out of a full sheep once a minute. Boom, 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 out of sheeps, out of sheeps, out of sheeps. Or if I'm fighting an RMP or something and the priest is trying to full fear me while going on my partners. So keyword, if they're going on my partners, I like Adaptation. If they're going on me, I like Relentless. I never really use Trinket anymore, unless, yeah, I don't think I really use Trinket much anymore at all. So yeah. So here's our next row. I always play Mind Quickness. Initiation, just you don't really need it. And Train of Thought, you're always taking damage, so it just doesn't do any good here. And this third row is something I have changed a little bit as well. Burning Determination is amazing to help you get Glacial Spikes off. So if you want to try to cast a Glacial Spike, what you can even do is just cast a Polymorph, get kicked on the Polymorph on purpose, and then immediately cast your Glacial Spike because you have this 8-second Aura Mastery, which is incredible. If you pair that with Ice Flows, Shimmer, let's see, what else? Ice Flow, Shimmer, and Ice Form, so you can't be stunned, knocked back, you can't be interrupted, they can't touch you because you're moving and blinking, like, you're going to get that Glacial off. So basically the meta right now is, how can I get my Glacial Spikes off? Prismatic Cloak, I only use against Frost Mages and sometimes versus Demo Locks, and that's just to blink the one-shot burst. And I honestly thought I'd be using it a lot more, but this Burning Determination is just so good. Just a quick side note too, I wouldn't use Burning Determination unless they have 2 kicks on the team. So say you're fighting like Pally, Shadow Priest, Rogue. Well, the only kick on the whole team's a Rogue. Shadow Priest and Pallies don't have a kick. So if that's the case, I still would go Prismatic Cloak. So Burning Determination if they have 2 kicks, and they aren't playing with a Frost Mage or a Demo Lock, because those have big one-shot bursts that you do want to blink with Prismatic Cloak. So Temp Shield, Dense Ice, Kleptomania. You can go Kleptomania against Resto Druids. I find myself still just playing Temp Shield almost every game, and I honestly thought Dense Ice would be used against double physical damage, but a couple side notes. 1, you almost never fight double physical damage, and 2, Temp Shield I think is just still better. The reason Temp Shield is so good is because it's in the Arcane Tree, which makes it so if you get kicked on Frost, you can immediately Temp Shield because you're not kicked in Arcane. Temp Shield is off the global cooldown, and you can also cancel Temp Shield with a macro that I bound in. I'll go over my macros here in a sec, but that I bound into my mount, so I can cast Temp Shield, cancel it early by hitting my mount keybind, and it'll actually heal me back up for that amount, so I can cancel it whenever I want. So it's pretty freaking awesome. So I use Temp Shield almost every single game, 99.9%. Sometimes against a Rested Druid where I feel like, alright, I need to get a full sheep, and then Spell Steal, I might go Kleptomania. Deep Shatter and Ice Form, these two go hand in hand, just locked in. I would never go any of these other talents unless something changes, but Deep Shatter, you know, allows you to get these huge Frostbolts off, just pretty steady burst. And your Ice Form is a 45-second cooldown, 30% Frostbolt damage, immune to stuns, immune to knockback. Something cool about this talent, too, that I did want to mention, is that if you are stunned, you can pop your Ice Form to get out of stuns. It works like an IBF from a DK. A lot of people don't know that. So you can use it retroactively. I also did want to point out that Ice Form does activate Shield at the core, increasing all of your frost damage by 20%. So you're getting a 45-second cooldown ability right here that is going to give you 30% frostbolt damage and 20% total frost damage every 45 seconds. Just an insane ability. Okay, talents, honor talents, I did that as fast as possible. Sorry guys, I know I've done videos on that in the past, but I did want to just quickly go over it again so I can have one consolidated guide, and because things have changed since I've last made these guides. So let's go over macros. I'll try to make this quick as well. So here I just have an aesthetic macro to make my blink, or have my shimmer look like blink rather, because I just like the icon of blink better. Here I have a macro to make mana pudding and mana fritters into one, because when you're in a party, you make a table, and when you're solo, you make not a table, you just make the pudding. So I have a macro so I can use either one depending on which one's in my bag at that current time. I have, let's see, another macro here that will use my racial, Blood Fury, that's the Orc racial, and it'll use Ice Form or Icy Veins depending if I'm in PvP or PvE. So yeah, that just is kind of like my Swifty one-shot burst macro. I use that before I do my huge one-shots. Here I use Ice Nova, and this is an awesome macro. You can pause the video at any time if you want to copy these macros, but this macro is awesome. Normally, if you hit Ice Nova, it'll use it on yourself, because Ice Nova, if you read it, you know, it's an ally or it's a friendly or enemy target. So a primary enemy target will take 100% increased damage, but you can use it on yourself normally. So if I just drag it from my bars, boom, I can use it on myself. But if you use this macro, you can't use it on yourself. And why that's good is if someone vanishes as you were spamming it, you're not just going to use it on yourself. It's just going to say, no valid target. So it's much better. Here, in my Frostbolt, I use this as like a kind of like a cancel aura macro. So cancel aura invis, cancel aura ice block, cancel aura slow fall, dismount, and cast Frostbolt. That's just kind of how I like to play. It's just preference. You guys don't need that if you don't want. Shadow Meld, I'm not a Night Elf. Let's see, Counterspell. This is just a cancel aura ice block and a stop casting counterspell, so I can get it off instantly anytime. I have Counterspell 1, 2, 3. I use this for all my characters, so Silence and Solar Beam on these as well. Pretty basic macros here. That will counterspell the first, second, and third target in Arena in order. Here we don't have Decros anymore. Pet Dismiss is a macro to dismiss your pet. It'll instantly just tell your pet to die. This is for my priest, this is for my priest. This is how you set a focus, just /focus. I have it bound to Shift B, so I can just set a focus whenever I want. Focus counterspell, pretty basic. Focus counterspell, I have a cancel or ice block in there, just to let you guys know. So if I am in an ice block, I can cancel it and focus counterspell immediately. This is for my priest. This is a focus polymorph, once again, pretty basic. So this is a macro. By the way, I'll link you guys all my macros down below. So if you also don't want to type it in from the video, I'll give you a paste bin of all the macros. So you can just copy and paste them. So I hope that helps. Here's a framed macro. This will always have me on the bottom frame of my group. I technically don't really need it. It's just something I'm kind of like, I don't want to say OCD. I'm just kind of like picky. I always just like to be in the same spot so I can see my health bar. So I just have this to always put my frame on the bottom of my frame group, of the raid frame group. This is my focus spell steal. Pretty basic there. Hellstone, just because I am too lazy to drag it out every time a warlock puts it. You don't need this either. Invis. This console FFX Glow 0 doesn't actually work this expansion, but I'm looking for a new way to make it work, so that's why I still have this as like a placeholder. But I will, as soon as I get this updated Invis macro, it makes the Invis not all blurry and kind of shady how it normally is. I'll get that to you guys, but I don't even have it yet. Here are some mount macros. So like I said, in my flying mount, I had the cancel aura Hand of Sacrifice. So if I guess you can't steal sacks anymore. That was from last expansion. Cancel or a Temp Shield is the big one. So if I Temp Shield and I'm about to die, I can press my mount. It'll cancel the Temp Shield. I'll get healed back anytime during that temp shield that I want to. So that's amazing. Obviously, I gotta get the flag of ownership in there so I can flag people after I kill them, and cancel aura dispersion when I do play my priest. Same thing with my ground mount and my other mount. Okay, so here we have polymorph, and I have pet follow in it and pet passive. So I use my poly macro to kind of control how I move my pet. So with my pet, I have a keybind to move my pet. If I want it to come to me, I actually just hit my polybind, even though I don't want to poly. Even in arena, I do that. So I move it, and I can bring it back too. And the next macro I want to talk about before the rest is my water element macro. I do have a video that talks completely about pet control. You can just Google Xaryu pet control and it'll come up. But here is the water elemental macro. It will summon your water element if it's dead, or if it's alive, it will actually tell your water elemental to attack the target, and it'll bring up the option to freeze if you would like to freeze as well. So kind of between polymorph and this macro, that's how I control my pet. This is my priest, this is my priest, this is another Shadow Meld one that I don't need. Spell Steal. So in here I have Cancel Aura Hot Streak and Cancel Aura Combustion. So if I'm fighting a Fire Mage and I steal their Combust, boom, it's instantly off. If I'm fighting a Fire Mage and I steal his Pyro, boom, it's instantly off. So I like this just because I don't have to right click it off myself. Target player, that's for my priest, and yeah, so that's all my macros. Cool, let's get moving on. I'm going to briefly talk about my PvP add-ons. I'm not going to talk about any add-ons for anything else, just my PvP add-ons, and yeah, so let's get started with that. Advanced interface options, don't need. Auto lag tolerance, don't need. Auto turn-in, don't need. Battleground targets. So this is for RBGs. It'll bring up a little Gladius-like frame of all of my enemy targets in Battlegrounds. It'll show their trinket timers. You can click on it. It's really good. You can right-click to set them as your focus, just like Gladius. It's Gladius for Battlegrounds, basically what it is. Pretty nice. Here we have big debuffs. I actually just got this recently, and it's awesome. And when I'm in a party, you can configure it. So when you're in a party, it'll show when your healer's CC'd with a bigger CC frame. Say your healer's full feared, it'll just show a fear icon next to your healer really big. You can make it bigger or smaller, but I have it really big next to the healer so you can really see what kind of CC he's in, and you can set priorities for each type of CC as well. So that's really awesome. I use it to keep track of CC and my partners in Arena. Gladius, I think you're all familiar with that, but I'll just bring it up right here. It shows you diminishing returns here with his polymorph and his fear. It'll show you the enemy arena targets, and you can click on it to set them as your target. Right click to set them as your focus. It shows health, mana, and their trinkets. So overall, just an amazing add-on. I would really recommend keeping a track on those DRs, the polymorph, fear, whatever, because that is how you really start getting good at arena, is when you have those DRs down to a T. Move anything. I just use this to remove my artifact power bar or kind of hide it. Same thing with my honor bar, because I think both of those are really annoying. So as you see, it's just lowered a little bit. It's the same thing with the griffins on the side. I have both of those removed. Omni bar tracks enemy cooldowns. This is like interrupt bar used to be, but this one's better. It just shows, you can make it show any spell in the game, but it shows kicks. You can make it show priest fear. You can make it show warrior spell reflect, etc., etc., etc. Omnibar right here. You can you can go through any priest, priest spells, so you can kind of keep track. I actually wanted to show fear, and yeah, so you can keep track of everything like that. So it's really awesome, and it'll just come up right when they kick. It'll show up on your screen. Boom, kick, and it'll just show it right here, just like that. Pretty awesome. Let's continue. Tell me when. Wait, no, Omni CC is a countdown for everything. Blizzard has a default one, but I just like this one better because I don't know, I'm just used to the font, and yeah, you can just use the Blizzard default one if you would like in the settings. Tell me when. I'm trying to think what I use this for. Oh yeah, so I just got this one recently. This is the last PvP add-on that I got. This is Tell Me When. I use it for two things. Prismatic Cloak and Burning Determination. So every time I have the buff, it'll show it right here. It'll show Burning Determination, and it'll have a countdown timer every time I have the buff. Same thing with Prismatic Cloak. It'll show the Prismatic Cloak buff every time I have it. So both of those are pretty cool. It just helps me keep track mentally. Okay, I have this buff for 2 more seconds, so I can free cast for 2 more seconds before I have to start faking again, or before I'm vulnerable to kick again. So those are all my add-ons. Okay, so now on to the good stuff. Rotation. So mages have two primary things right now in PvP that you want to focus on. That's CC, you know, that control CC, however you want to say it, and burst, okay? CC and burst. It kind of used to be where you would always want to CC first and then burst, but a lot of the times, especially in this expansion with damage being so high, a lot of times you can literally just burst, and then when the healer comes to heal, then you can CC him and then continue bursting. So I want to show you guys how to CC and how to burst. So briefly, I mentioned Shimmer and Ice Flows. I really want to emphasize that. So to sheep this prairie dog, a lot of the times if he's line of sighting, it's going to be very difficult. If you're just standing still casting a poly, you're never going to get it. The healer's just going to keep line of sighting. But if you cast, you know, ice flows, you cast 1 or 2 ice flows, kind of blink around like this, there's no way he can avoid the sheep. So basically, master, shimmer, and ice flows sheeping, and that's how you're going to get your CC. Against a priest, you want to fake Shadow or Death. Against a pally, you might want to fake Hand of Sacrifice. But against a majority of healers, you can just do that. And if you even want to guarantee your sheep even further, what you can do is just keep spam cast Frostbolts until you get kicked. When you're kicked in Frostbolt, you get Burning Determination. When you have Burning Determination, you have Aura Mastery for 8 seconds. And then you can use Ice Flows and Shimmer with your Aura Mastery, so you can't get kicked. You can avoid CC with that Shimmer, with the line of sight. You can make sure you're in line of sight with Ice Flows. Like, it's really a good way to get sheeps. So that's how you're getting your sheeps. Once you get your sheep, or sometimes you can do this first, if you want to, is your bursting. And your bursting is, I just do want to let you guys know that I'm not in PvP combat, so I'm not going to have all of my PvP talents, but you don't really need any of them for demonstration purposes. I'll just be casting on the training dummy, getting icicles, okay? If I want to do little burst, like basically setup burst, what I can do is Frostbolt into a Pet Nova. That's burst number 1, okay? You have, I would say, like 3 or 4 burst opportunities constantly, so that's the first one. The second one is Frostbolt into Ice Nova, okay? If you want to do damage and your Pet Nova's down, you can try to Ice Nova, okay? And then if that's down, what you can do is Frostbolt, Blink, Frost Nova. And that will also allow you to take advantage of Deep Shatter. So there's a pattern here. Every burst you do takes advantage of this Deep Shatter. So that's 3 of them. And the 4th one is if you're far away, you can Frostbolt and immediately Flurry, and that will actually shatter the target. A lot of people don't know that. It'll shatter the target with Deep Shatter, but only if you're about 20 plus yards. If you're about this close, it's not going to work. If you're like right here, it'll work. If you're like right here, it won't. So it's really just like getting the range and distance down. So that's the 4th one. So you can Frostbolt with a Pet Nova, Frostbolt with an Ice Nova, Frostbolt with a Frost Nova, or Frostbolt with a Flurry. Those are your 4 burst options. And then the 5th one is Glacial Spike, and that doesn't take advantage of Deep Shatter, but what that does do is take advantage of all these icicles you've been building up. So say like, okay, I've been bursting, well now you have another burst. Now you have your Glacial Spike. So let me just get 5 icicles real quick, then you can you know, pop your cooldowns, maybe pop an Ice Flows, and do a Glacial Spike, preferably with an Ice Nova afterwards. So what that's going to do is 2 things. 1, it's going to use Ice Nova, which is a lot of damage. And 2, it's going to give your Glacial Spike a higher chance to critical strike because of the shatter bonus you're going to get. So your Glacial Spike is most likely going to crit, and you're stacking it with that Ice Nova. So you're just getting a huge multiplier, huge burst. You can also shatter your Glacial Spike with a Freeze, you can shatter it with a Frost Nova, or you can shatter it with a Flurry, just like I showed you with your Frostbolts. So any of the 4 ways you shatter your Frostbolts can also be done with Glacial Spike. So I would recommend trying to get one of those 4 to shatter your Glacial Spike. Always one of those 4. So it was kind of like a mind game. Do I want an Ice Nova? Do I want a Frost Nova? Do I want a Pet Nova? Or do I want a Flurry? If you don't do one of those, you're going to do no damage. If you do one of those, you're going to do a lot of damage. So that's the difference, guys. Like, bad mages, or not bad mages, but just mages that don't know, or like just starting mage, don't know this. And that's why they're not doing damage. It's because they're not shattering correctly. So now... yeah, that pretty much covers your rotation in Arena. You're going to be doing these things. You're going to be pop Ice Form when you want to ramp these things up. When you don't want to, when you just want to do a little damage, you can do it without Ice Form. But yeah, that's pretty much how it works. So I showed you guys how to CC and how to burst. Those are the 2 things you want to get good at. So I want to quickly talk about mindset, and I want to quickly talk about positioning. So mindset, the main thing is Kaizen. I want you guys to constantly be improving. Every single game that you lose, or any single game that you win, as you are you know, after the game, as you're leaving on the loading screen, whatever, think, what could I have done better? What didn't go smoothly that game? Could I have landed a different sheep? Could I have gotten more damage out here? Could I have maybe popped ice flows? Or maybe I could have saved ice flows and used it later. Maybe I shouldn't have glacial spiked there. Maybe I should have done that. Constantly be thinking of ways to improve, and this is how you become a good player. This is how you're going to become a good Frost Mage, is if you're constantly thinking, what could I have done better that last game? And then the next game, improve upon it, and then improve upon it. Every little thing until you're like, yeah, I played that one pretty well, you know, but that shouldn't happen for a very long time. I don't even get those games. Like, I don't even all these rank 1 games that I'm playing, it is very rare where I'm like, yeah, I played that well and we still lost. Like, I almost always, even when we win, I'm like, yeah, I could have done something better. Could have done something better. Could have done something better. So yeah, always improve, guys. And then positioning, I did want to mention, so with all this ice flows, shimmer, mobility, a lot of mages get into trouble, okay? They get into trouble by overextending. Like, say you want to sheep this prairie dog. Once again, sorry, I've been sheeping this little thing over and over. But what they'll do is, say their healer is Mosha Starhorn right here, which is, you know, he's behind you, whatever. He's healing you and everything's all good. But you're like, okay, Xaryu told me to go push up and sheep this prairie dog. So you come in and you're over here and you sheep, and now you're bursting. JK, you're line of sighting your healer and you die. Always keep in mind, guys, positioning. Your healer's behind you. So after you land this sheep, you don't want to be over there. After you land that sheep, you might want to, you know, okay, so ice flows, blink, sheep, and you might want to come out to here and burst from here. So you're still in line of sight of your healer. You always want to be in line of sight of the target and your healer. If you do push out of line of sight, make sure it's for a brief moment just to get CC, and then peek back out so you always don't line of sight your healer. If you push in the enemy territory for too long, your healer is going to yell at you and it's not going to be good because you're going to die. Or you're going to have to use ice block or a bunch of cooldowns so you don't die. Either way, not a very good thing. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much it. I covered talents, honor talents, all of my macros, all of my add-ons, exactly how I CC, exactly how I burst, my mindset, and positioning. If you guys have any other questions, please leave them down below. I would love to hear from you guys. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you guys liked the video. Thumbs it down if you didn't. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.